Hey guys, what's up? It's Elements. I just wanted to give you my opinion on the latest patch notes that came out. Starting with the champions, Yasu is coming out, or Yasu, I don't know how to say his name properly just yet. I'm sure everyone will give me crap for mispronouncing it when I'm streaming, but he actually looks pretty cool with his knockups, and I'm curious to see the lanes that come out and the combos that come out with him. He's kind of too early to really talk about, so I'm just gonna jump on to Ari and only really say that I think he looks pretty damn cool. Ari got a little base mana increase, and her base mana regeneration got increased, so that's actually going to help her out in the laning phase quite substantially. I know it may not seem like much, but these little baby buffs after, you know, some nerfs coming down on her will actually help her manage the laning. I mean, it says it right there. She was kind of falling behind, and I tend to agree a little bit. I know most Ari players were not loving her as much since the nerfs, so this should hopefully help out in that regard a little bit. Next up, we got Fiddlesticks, and you know, Fiddlesticks had a really, you know, crazy long fear. 3-second fear was like incredibly long season, and I agree with this. You know, dropping it down to 2.25 instead of 3 seconds. I agree with that. The thing I don't agree is like this is like Fiddle's like bread and butter. So Terrify, his fear is like, that is what Fiddle's known for, other than, you know, obviously his Crow Storm. And I feel that, you know, reducing his mana cost is such like a not the proper way to help out Fiddle as a Fiddle player. I don't have mana problems whatsoever, like whatsoever, in the laning phase and anywhere. I mean, maybe in a team fight I might run out of mana, but like I don't have any trouble at all. So I really don't feel like, you know, they're, you know, nerfing one thing but they're not buffing another. Like there's no balance here, because the mana cost, you know, buff, because it's less, isn't really, you know, substantial. I don't think it's that great, and I kind of feel like they either need to, you know, increase the damage on Dark Wind, or make it do like a small little AoE or something, or I don't know, have Drain hit harder or something like that. I feel like if they maybe buffed maybe some of his stats, or made him able to clear creeps a little bit easier, you know, that would actually help out Fiddle, because he's really terrible at clearing like anything, and I think that's, you know, would really help out in jungle Fiddlesticks, even middle sticks that could come along, and even support for holding waves and stuff like that. I mean, Darkwind's already a great harass, but I mean, I don't see these mana, you know, buffs really, you know, balance out the Q nerf. So I think Riot kind of screwed up on that one. Next up is Janna. You know, I haven't seen too much of her this patch. It seems like Taric and Annie are really the all-stars of this patch in terms of supports, and you know, this does help. And you know, later in the game, I mean, 200 mana does count. I mean, even here, you know, it does count later in the game, and it is, you know, a helpful buff. But I mean, in the grand scheme of things, this isn't, you know, really changing too much, except for those very specific scenarios. So this is kind of like a whatever change. It's like a quality of life change, but it's not so good, and it's not so great. Next up, we got Lee Sin, and you know, I don't know why people are like going so like crazy over this Lee Sin stuff. It just doesn't shield like wards and minions. Like, who cares? Like, I guess as a support Lee Sin player, sometime I can't like deny creeps by Wing to them anymore. So that, I mean, damn it, the nerf. It's just too much. Yeah, this is really whatever. It doesn't really mean anything. Lucian, though. Lucian, people are gonna, you know, this does affect a lot of things, because Lucian is picked very often recently, and I think it was the Korean players first who brought him out and showed after he was released that he was like actually a very strong laning champion, because his lane dominance, if you got up early, you could just like shove it down people's faces, and that's like kind of the, you know, meta is, you know, get up early and don't let him breathe. And these are, you know, very slight nerfs. The biggest one, actually, I don't even care about the damage. It's honestly the attack range that they changed on the Q that's going to be the biggest hit to Lucian here, because it was so easy for him to you know, harass and stuff like that due to the range of the Q. It wasn't really the auto attacks that were doing all the damage, it was the Q followed by a couple auto attacks with his passive that was really, you know, making his burst combos so good. So, you know, the little damage nerf, that's okay, but I think the really big hit here is actually the range one. That's what's going to be, you know, the biggest hit, but I don't think this is going to take him out of being a strong AD carry. In fact, I think it just levels him off a little bit. He might need another little nerf like this, or tweak, to really be on par with, you know, everybody else in terms of AD carry balance, but I think this was a good change. I approve of this one. Now the Lulu change. Passive picks Fairy Companion base damage increase. This is like, I honestly don't know why. Lulu does so much damage. Her passive is crazy. You can 1v1 AD carries and AP carries all the time. Hell, even other supports as Lulu. You do not need, like, and it's such a minor, like, little, I mean, actually 20 damage almost. Actually, it's more than 20 damage. It got buffed by 24 at the highest rank. That's like a lot. I guess they felt she needed to scale a little bit better into late game, but I honestly don't think she needed that at all. E gets increased by 60. I mean, from 60 to 80, and that's 20 HP or 20 shield damage you can absorb. But that's actually a lot, especially in the early laning phase. I mean, how many times have you like lived with 20 HP, or you know, those tight situations? You know, that just makes it so Lulu is, you know, that much better in the early laning phase. Like, especially at like level 2, dude. Level 2 trades, dude. Extra 20 HP. That's like life or death. I guess that helps her out, but again, I really don't feel like she needs any buffs. I kind of feel like, you know, Tarek and Annie are kind of just taking the support spotlight right now, and that Lulu is still 100% viable. She's just like not super insanely in the meta popular, but I think she's 100% fine, and I don't think Riot needs to change her whatsoever after this. Like, stop with the Lulu changes. She's gonna be good. She's gonna come back into the meta, I swear to God. And everyone's gonna be like, damn, Lulu's pretty damn good still. And I'm gonna be like, yeah, because she got all these like little buffs and stuff. So, Riot, please no more Lulu buffs. I believe this is the second one in a row, or close to it. Rammus. So Rammus kind of got the same deal as the Fiddlesticks with the taunt, puncturing taunt, you know, lowering it down, which is obviously needed. That's a crazy long time to be CC'd. This isn't Dota, dude. You don't need to be CC'd for like 5 years. Then he got, you know, a tiny little R buff, you know, 100. 220, but defensive ball curl can no longer be deactivated, instead goes on cooldown. So that's like a little, I guess, quality of life change, but really biggest thing here is the puncturing taunt nerf, which was needed. I would actually kind of think Rammus had kind of the same fate as Leona last season. So last season, Leona wasn't, you know, as sought after as a support because her issue is that you needed gold. You needed gold to get items, because when Leona has items, she's good, she's really tanky, she's awesome. And that's what you can do this season. But with Rammus, you know, the jungle didn't get a crazy buff, but the support did. So champions like Leona have all this extra gold around to play around with, and they can get tankier and they get more HP. But Rammus still has like the same amount of gold to play around with, you know, in theory, and you know, not much has changed. But Rammus has always had this issue where he has all these stats and he has no HP. But the way HP and resistances work, it's like if you have over 200, I believe it's 200 MR and 200 armor, HP scales incredibly, like, it's more beneficial to get HP after that. So that comes into play when you have base HP and really high resistances, which Rammus has right away. He'll actually scale better with more HP. So I kind of feel like Rammus could maybe use some small base stat buffs to his HP to help him out and, you know, kind of balance him out and level him out after this nerf, because, you know, this is really what made him so amazingly good. You know, the Q is helpful, Tremor is really helpful, but you gotta, I think they're not balancing it out correctly. I kind of feel like he needs a little bit more oomph overall. Sivir nerfs, yay! Praise the Elo gods. Movement speed bonus reduced, now scales to 30, 35, 40, 45, and 50 at levels 1, 6, 11, 16, and 18. So they balance it out. 50 mana, or 50 at all ranks. From 50 at all ranks. So that's good. You know, it's not, you know, it's always good to have stuff scaling opposed to just being flat. I think honestly the biggest change, not even the ulti, I think the biggest change here is the spell shield duration, because like that shit was so long. That was like Fiddle Fear. It's like 3 seconds. That shit lasts forever. 3 seconds. Oh my god, it lasted forever. 1.5 is totally good. You can, if you're quick, you can spell shield stuff right away. 3 seconds is just like, come on, in lane. It's like, hit me, come on. I'm waiting. And it's like, you're just sitting there with a spell, and I'm like, I can't do anything. Like, I honestly hated laning against Sivir, because it's just like that obnoxious spell shield you can throw up. And, you know, this is going to help definitely stop that, and I really feel like this is going to balance her out. Her ulti did need a tiny bit of nerf. You know, duration to 8 seconds from 10, I totally agree. It was kind of lasting a long time. It should be like a shorter burst of, you know, plays to make. It shouldn't be like long and drawn out, which 10 seconds kind of feels, sorry guys, my throat's kind of sore right now, and 8 seconds kind of feels a little bit more, you know, manageable, especially with the scaling 2, 3, 4 seconds instead of 4 seconds at all rank for the enhanced movement speed as it ramps up. And the cooldown, I actually kind of don't think is needed too much. I kind of feel like this kind of solves her, you know, cooldown problem, but maybe the only thing I kind of agree with is like the later seconds. I guess it's kind of totally changed. Actually, you know what? I do agree with that. I totally changed my opinion. I do agree with this. It does make a lot of sense, because 60 seconds base at, you know, level 16 is kind of insanely short. So I do actually agree with that. Good on you, right? I like that change. Soraka, they say they have plans for, but the base armor increased to 13 from 9.4, and the base movement speed increased to 340 from 335. Base movement speed increase, I like. Base armor, I kind of feel like she's already a really good laner, and she's already the best at saying no. Like, nope, you are not doing damage. We are sitting in this lane, and we are farming. Nope. If you trade with me, I will out-sustain you. I kind of feel like she's just like she's like a talk to the hand champion. And I honestly kind of don't even feel like the armor needs to be there. This, I honestly don't think needs to happen either. I kind of honestly think that she's fine right now, and if you're going to change her anyways, this is kind of irrelevant. Because I think she's fine, to be honest. She's really good at sustaining. She's really good at just being Soraka in this patch with the recent support buffs. She has tons of gold to play around with. Her laning phase is good, and she scales way better into the mid game and late game now. So I totally think she's fine, and I don't think these are good buffs. On to the Taric. Again, thank God the Sivir Taric lane was so poisonous to play against. The biggest one here, or one of the biggest one here, is this. People were building, you know, right into Warden's Mail and lane if they got a little bit ahead in Taric. Like, I had that done to me today, and the guy's just like smashing me with his passive. So, you know, a 10% reduction in the, you know, extra bonus damage you're going to be getting from your armor. Really good nerf. Gonna help, you know, quell some of Taric's absurd damage. Shatter being, you know, bumped down a little bit, 3% here. Or actually give the correct amount of damage, 12%. Armor damage scaling reduced to 20% from 30, and the shred value lowered by 5 armor points, and then the shred armor scaling lowered by 5% overall. So basically this is like a big 5 to 10% nerf overall on all the aspects of Shatter, which I can agree with. I like it. It's cutting down a lot of the good values about Shatter, and you know, his damage is just so high for all the, you know, sustaining and tanking and buffing that he does. So these are good, because I hate Taric and I think he's bland and boring. Minor changes and bug fixes. This is all just good, you know, quality of life changes to the game. Nothing too major in here except Riven has a new improved running animation. Hi-oh! Woo! Not too big. Jungle items. So, Bounty Hunter as a passive was risky for some junglers. Either amped up the gold gain in successful teamfights, or pushed the junglers who couldn't get assists, or punished junglers. Well, I can't read. Punished junglers who couldn't get assists or kills. So they've changed that. Now has a conservation passive, which is going to... Actually, I didn't read this one. Thought I read it. Rather than being seen as a niche purchase, we want spirit lines. Honestly, I have no idea what this does because I don't jungle at all. I mainly just wanted to talk about the support stuff, but good for junglers. Trinkets. I actually like the trinket cooldown reduction a lot because trinkets right now, as they stand, take forever to I feel like I use a trinket and I'm like, man, this is gonna be a while before I can use it again. I feel like the 3 minutes on, or actually 3 minutes. Yeah, 3 minutes. Sorry guys, I'm tired and kind of sick right now. I wanna head to bed after this, but I'm gonna do this for you guys. Sweeping lens, as I said, getting dropped down 60 seconds, another minute off of it really does help it out. All this good stuff, and then this new scrying orb. Enemy champions hit will be revealed. The range being increased. Very much so, though. I'm actually kind of curious to see how these are going to play out. 3,000 range is actually pretty big. I mean, that's kind of like Ash's E that you can be dropping on people. That's actually pretty cool. And the true sight duration reduced to 8 seconds. Actually, on the Oracle's lens is one thing I don't agree with on these. I feel like this shit should be I kind of feel like the true sight should be on this. The greater lens, if pink words are going to suck so bad for 4 seconds or 5 seconds, and this should be at 12 seconds, because I feel like you need to be able to clear stuff, and I feel like if you don't have those up, you can just take over areas. So that's kind of how I feel about that. I feel like they need a little bit more counterplay in there, and I actually feel that most trinkets should be able to be used way earlier. No, you don't. We have an invader. You're going to ruin the patch notes, kitty. You can't see him. He's right here. Getting hella distracted. That's okay. But that's kind of how I feel about those trinkets. We'll just sum up and move on. Move on from the trinkets. The actual damage reduction in the junglers for the little jungling I've done this season actually helps out a little bit. I think that helps out a bigger variety of junglers by reducing the base damage overall, just because it's you can have more niche junglers that maybe not clear so fast, or maybe not do as much damage, or maybe can't tank as much. This will help them out all because that's all sustained damage. I mean, together, that's 10 damage apiece, and how many auto attacks, that can add up to almost 200 damage extra you can be taking off big creeps for however many auto attacks. So having that little bit of extra HP as you run through the jungle can actually be very beneficial for clearing. And the slight gold increase always helps. Now onto masteries. Attack damage reduced to 4 from 5. Nothing crazy. This is whatever. The ability power mastery reduced to 6 from 8. Again, whatever. 8 was kind of strong, but it's still kind of whatever. Big one here in defense is the perseverance, reduced, restoring to 0.7, 1.35, and 2% from 3. And I think everyone kind of realized, especially Riot, that this was a really strong mastery in the defensive tree, because you have champions like Mundo and Singe coming out a lot, and these heavy big HP champions, and they're unkillable, it seems sometimes. So I think it did need a slight nerf, but that pretty much sums up, other than getting some icons updated, the major points in these patch notes. I wanted to do these kind of quick for you guys, so I hope you enjoyed it. I hope I wasn't talking too quietly in this video, and yeah, I hope that kind of enlightened you on especially the support side of these patch notes. Yeah, see you guys later. Peace.